everyone. Now let's start this parallel session. Let me first give you a brief introduction of today's session. Dear experts, delegates from the industry, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In this golden autumn, we are here for the parallel session on bamboo forest management for decreasing carbon emission and increasing carbon sequestration. I would like to thank INBAR and also Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University and the Engineering Research Center of Bamboo Carbon Sequestration of NFGA and the State Key Laboratory of Subtropical Silviculture, co-funded by Zhejiang Provincial Government and the Ministry of Education. I want to thank you for your presence. Bamboo is one of the most productive plants in the world, which makes it a promising way to mitigate climate change. Such productive growth characteristics of bamboo could be attributed to the rhizome's structure that promotes water and nutrients transferring among different ages of the culm. In addition to the faster growth of bamboo, high carbon sequestration of bamboo forests mainly relies on the high stability of carbon storage in the soil. However, the effect of forest management on carbon storage in soil are not completely clarified. Carbon sequestration projects are essential to strengthen the role of bamboo forests in climate change mitigation, which should be better known to the public, such as stakeholders, forest community managers, and foresters. That's why we have today's two parallel sessions, which will enlarge our knowledge about bamboo carbon sequestration from both professional and public aspects. Today, we are very honored to have renowned experts on bamboo carbon emission and carbon sequestration. They will give us excellent presentations. The first speaker is Professor Song Xinzhang. He's second-level professor, doctoral supervisor, and winner of National Outstanding Youth Science Fund, and also a leading scientific and technological innovation talent of Zhejiang Province 10,000 People Plan, an advanced worker of agricultural science and technology of Zhejiang Province, Dean of Bamboo Research Institute of Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University. He mainly works on bamboo forest carbon sink and forest carbon neutrality. He presides over one state-level natural science fund key project and has won many state-level and provincial awards. He has also published more than 40 papers in SCI journals such as Science Advances and one monograph. And at the same time, he's director of the Special Committee on Forest Ecology of Zhejiang Ecological Society. And he sits on the editorial board of the Forest Ecosystems and other periodicals. Today, his topic is effects of simulated nitrogen deposition on soil GHG fluxes in Mosul bamboo forest. Professor Song, you have the floor now. As we all know, carbon neutrality and carbon emission peak are goals put forward by President Xi Jinping. Our aim is to have carbon emission peak before 2030. This is a national strategy. Carbon neutrality means to strike a balance between anthropogenic emission and carbon uptake. Our goal is to reduce carbon emissions through several ways, for example, through reducing the use of fossil fuels by using renewable energies, including hydro energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, and solar energy. And on the other hand, to increase carbon sink, we have green carbon, blue carbon, that is ocean carbon, and also CCS, carbon capture and storage. forest area has reached 4.1 billion hectare, that is around 31% of the total land area. So forests are important carbon pools. There are three major greenhouse gases that you must have a very good knowledge of. First, carbon dioxide with 415 ppm, that increases by 2.37 ppm per year. And the second one is methane. It has a very high global warming potential. And the third one is nitrous oxide. Together, the three greenhouse gases contribute 90% to the greenhouse effects of the globe. Moso bamboo is widely distributed in the subtropical area of China in 17 provinces with an acreage of 4.68 million hectares. And Moso bamboo is the major type of bamboo that China grows because it occupies 73% of China's bamboo area. It grows very quickly, much quicker than other bamboos. Its MPP is also higher than other bamboos. It has a very important economic role and a very long tradition in China. My team has been working on Moso bamboo forest productivity and carbon sink for a very long time. We mainly look at its fast growth, productivity, nutrient turnover, soil ecology, and forest management. From different perspectives, we look at Moso bamboo's role. Our focus is nitrogen deposition because it is a very important environmental issue in China, mainly in the subtropical area. It also coincides with the distribution of Moso bamboo in China. So we want to know the effect of increased nitrogen deposition on GHG emission. So this will be my topic today. Our research site is in Hangzhou city of Zhejiang province. On the slide, you can see average temperature and precipitation over the years. We have 3 replicate plots and 1 control plot. Each plot has an area of 20 multiplied by 20, and each month we spray nitrogen and take samples at regular intervals to analyze nitrogen concentration. We also do chemical and physical analysis. On this slide, you can see the formulas we use in the analysis. In terms of GWP, we use 2 values, 25 and 298. Let's look at the major results of our research. We discovered that CO2 emission is seasonal, high in summer and low in winter. And nitrogen addition significantly increased soil CO2 emission. At the same time, soil respiration and soil CO2 emission is also correlated with soil temperature and air temperature. I mean, soil temperature at a 5 centimeter depth. soil CO2 emission showed higher temperature sensitivity to soil than air temperature, and nitrogen addition significantly decreased the sensitivity to both soil and air temperature. On this slide, we can see soil temperature, nitrate concentration, CO2, MBC, and carbon-nitrogen ratio, their relationship. It is very difficult to accurately calculate the annual flux of CH4 of methane of nitrous oxide. It's very difficult to calculate CO2 emissions, so we chose 3 ways to scale extrapolate. And we also use button thermometers to monitor soil temperature. We have different scales, sampling time, point, daily air temperature, and also hourly soil temperature. Through 3 models, we can see that the second model is medium, close to the average value. That is, through average daily air temperature from the weather station data, we can calculate the soil respiration flux. And the second gas is methane. Methane doesn't show seasonal characteristics, but we can see that nitrogen addition significantly inhibited methane uptake. And this inhibition increased with the increasing nitrogen addition rate, but weakened with addition duration. The major factors that affect methane uptake are total nitrogen, ammonium nitrogen, pH, total potassium, available phosphorus, etc. Nitrous oxide emission showed obvious seasonal dynamics, high in summer and low in winter. Nitrogen addition largely increased annual nitrous oxide emission. Major factors that affect NO emission are pH, carbon nitrogen ratio, total phosphorus, MBC, etc. For the 3 gases, we can see that CO2 emission is a mainstay, over 90%, followed by nitrous oxide and methane. And CO2 and nitrous oxide are mainly emitted while methane is uptaken. We can see that nitrogen addition increased the GWP of those 3 gases. Now let's come to the conclusion part. For Mosul bamboo forests, the mean annual soil CO2 and nitrous oxide emissions were 8.47 and 0.61 ton carbon equivalent. Each year, the annual carbon emission is 9 tons carbon equivalent per hectare. Nitrogen input or deposition significantly increased the soil CO2 and nitrous oxide emissions, but decreased methane uptake. and nitrogen addition at different scales, namely 3690 kilograms per hectare per year, increased the GWP of the GHG's fluxes by 45.8%, 38.5%, and 14.2%. At the same time, increasing atmospheric nitrogen deposition decreased the temperature sensitivity of soil CO2 emission and thus can mitigate the priming effects of future climate warming on soil CO2 emission in moso bamboo forest. I want to thank my team members for their contribution, and I'm also very grateful to the founder for his support. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Song, for the excellent presentation. For the first time, it analyzes the CO2, NH4, and N2O flux of moso bamboo forest and discovered that the nitrogen addition increased their GWP.
It is a scientific method for us to evaluate the future method. Now let's welcome the last speaker, Mr. Ge Xiaogai, who is the Deputy Research Fellow of the Chinese Academy of Forestry Research and mentor of and a supervisor of the PhD. He has been focusing on the research of eco-forest and the drying forest method, and he has also been engaged in the research of the National Fund Research Program and Zhejiang Provincial Program of Forestry Research and Chinese Academy of Forestry Research Program, and he has been engaged in a lot of programs as a key research fellow, covering different programs in provincial projects and national projects, and over 11 research projects in Zhejiang. He has also served as the author and co-author of 28 papers and 2 major works and 2 research fruits. And in 2018 and 2019, he has also worked as the guest research fellow in Swiss Forestry Research Institute. And he will talk about the printing effect of biochar root induction on moso bamboo plantation, increase of zinc, and reduction of emission with sea resources sensibility. Welcome, Mr. Ge. Respected colleagues, dear friends, good morning. I'm Mr. Ge Xiaogai. Today, I will talk about the topic of the printing effect of biochar root induction on moso bamboo plantation, increase of zinc, and reduction of emission with sea sources sensibility, covering different aspects. You can see the screen here. The 4 aspects. First, let's look at the research background. It is based on the major commitment made by China. China will strive to achieve carbon peak in 2030 and carbon neutrality in 2060. There is no sound from the speaker. Something's wrong with the system. You cannot hear the speaker. We're checking the system. Because we can't hear any voice from the speaker. We're checking the system. Wait a minute. Please continue. Please share the screen. Let's talk about the concept of biochar. It's a plant biomass that is integrated into highly aromatized substance with up to 60 to 85% and complete or partial hypoxia. And the usage is for improving soil and environment. You can see we can use the forestry disposal substance, and it has a large surface structure, and you can see the features have been covering the developed pore, huge specific surface area, and negativity charge. And now it is the hotspot of our research. And you can see only about 3% is soluble, and we have 97% of the obstinate carbon, and sometimes it will take 556 years to disintegrate. And now we can see our research. Let's look at specific questions. And what is the printing effect of the biochar root in action on soil carbon emissions, and how persistent it is, and as the responses of different tree species to biochar doses, root architecture, microbial structure similar, and such as the wild bamboo, and look at the plantations here. Let's look at the mossel bamboo and the desert plantations and the growth and the soil respiration and microbial respiration and the root structure, all of which have become the major contributing factors to carbon neutrality and whether it is beneficial in carbon neutrality. Now let's look at this slide. It's about the effect on carbon emission and the soil respiration. Now let's look at the carbon storage for direct burning. It is zero. If it is carbonized, we can have 40% of the carbon that can be kept for 100 years. And in this process, sometimes we can reduce 46.9 to 68.8% of the biochar addition. It can be decreased in soil due to emission. Now let's look at the low biomass biochar. Let's look at the persistence. Sometimes we verified that BC addition negative printing effect on soil refraction according to 24 months field is continuous. Sometimes it is decreased on annual basis. Why it has been kept in this way? And maybe it is relevant to the doses of biochar. For high doses, it is more relevant to the environment. For the rainfall, non-bio factors, it can result in a lot of CO2. Sometimes we have the carbohydrates, and it can also activate the effect. Now, in terms of the water and the temperature influence, in terms of the water content on the surface, it can also increase the activity of the soil carbon, and it's not relevant to the rainfall, but relevant to the temperature. Now let's look at the influence on the soil biomass, such as the water and concentration, and let's look at the growth of the roots and the physical property and interaction of the biochar. Now let's look at the effects of biochar on soil chemistry. Let's look at the influence of the increase of the biomass. And in the 2 years of growth, we have also increased the soil microbial retention. In this process, through the microbial results, we can look at the exchange of the nitrogen and the phosphorus ions and exchange positions, which are regulated in crops nitrogen and phosphorus validity. Especially in South China, we have the acid soil, right? In terms of the nitrogen circulation, we have the direct or indirect results. And sometimes the biochar dissolved carbon may improve the phosphorus fertilizer use efficiency. And you can see the direct results and the indirect effect. And in this process, you can see the effect of biochar on soil microorganisms. And biochar indirectly affected the soil microbial communities through soil CC, pH, and SOC. Now let's look at the effect of biochar on carbon storage stability, which means that for biochar, you can see our study showed that the interaction between biochar and organic mineralization can accelerate the formation of a small aggregate and increase the stability of SOC and HB, increase the organic carbon content of micro aggregate, and the results show that the biochar addition increase active organic carbon of the light fraction, and the plant roots play a key role in stability of biochar through printing effect, priming effect. Now let's look at the influence on enzyme, the biochar and the enzyme, the activity and the substrate and the surface pores and the structure of the biochar will also be influenced. And in this process, let's look at the biochar effects which can significantly increase the use of the microorganisms in the soil. Now let's look at the effect on biochar addition on the PLFAs. I have been talking about the enzymes, right? With the biochar addition, we can increase the total PLFAs, the biomass, and the components in deep soil, which means that this kind of results can be passing on from the surface to the roots. And in this process, look at the fungus and the fungus. We have the fungal absorbed carbon from biochar, and the pH of biochar with alkaline may be more beneficial for the G+ bacteria. And in this process, through direct and indirect results, we can also adjust the results of oxygen, and the biochar addition can alter the soil microbial diversity, abundance, and the uniformity. And you can see our results to clarify the relationship between the microbial community and the CO2 emission. And we can see bacteria, the G+, and avascular mycorrhiza fungus and the total PLFAs was positively correlated with annual cumulative carbon emissions. And the biochar carbon can also lead to the change of microbial carbon use efficiency and resulting in more substrate carbon participating in catalysis. And BC can also change the plant fungal signage and the shelters fungi from predation. Now let's look at the contribution of biochar self-mineralization to total carbon storage. Through the contribution of biochar self-decomposition to soil carbon mineralization, which is 0.8% to 1.11%, and the contribution of root system and biochar addition was 3.1% to 4%, which is also in line with 1.4 to 3% negative priming effect on the in-situ SOC. And the contribution of biochar self-mineralization on soil carbon emissions was limited. And the self-mineralization rate of biochar is negative correlated with carbonizing temperature. Now let's look at the effects of BC addition on other triggers, and we found that the influence of different amount of BC addition and the effect on different species.
To be specific, it can regulate root growth biologically, physically, and chemically. We introduced this effect on physical and chemical properties of soil, but in general, biochar addition increases root biomass by 32% and root volume by 29% and the surface area by 39%. The interaction of biochar roots promote root growth with more carbon distribution underground by releasing or absorbing chemical signals. On this slide, we can see a summary of biochar addition's effects. With different doses, we discovered that low biochar addition decreased the soil respiration most apparently. And SOC increased by 0.9% to 15.6%. The contribution from the self-mineralization of biochar to SOC is very limited, from 0.8% to 1.1%. Low biochar addition increased soil microbial biomass very largely in the first year, but the addition decreased in the second year. On this slide, we can see the effects of biochar addition on different seedlings. We can promote root growth, the growth of thin roots, very apparently. By adding biochar, we can increase SOC, total nitrogen, total phosphorus. For the two seedlings, the responses are different. So, biochar can promote SOC and other indicators of different plants, but the responses from different plants are also varied. To conclude, we have three aspects to share with you. First, the effects of biochar addition on soil microbial diversity and community structure. Biochar can increase subsoil microbial diversity and community structure. And the effect of biochar on soil microorganisms has a downward migration effect. The reasons for low biochar addition significantly reduces soil respiration are as follows. First, the increase of self-mineralization in the medium biochar addition and high biochar addition partially offset the negative priming effect and increase the soil respiration in medium and high biochar addition was converted into carbonate for the abiotic factors, such as rainfall, showing a relatively low negative priming effect. And biochar addition in situ can be used as a reference for carbon storage and emission reduction, and later to realize our goal of carbon neutrality. That's all for my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ge, for sharing with us your research results. Her research showed that biochar addition can be used to bring down carbon concentration. Professor Ge used a different experience to show that biomass carbon control can help regulate the environment. She also analyzed microbial responses, microbial structure, etc. She looked at subtropical forest and mossel bamboo forest management, and her research could be a good reference for our future work. The next speaker is Professor Zhou Benzhi. He's the chief expert for natural forest ecology in the Subtropical Forestry Research Institute of Chinese Academy of Forestry. He has looked at carbon, nitrogen, and water cycle and its response to climate change in typical subtropical forest ecosystems, forest ecosystem services, and forest health services. He has presided over more than 30 scientific research projects, published more than 130 papers, 3 monographs, and trained more than 20 graduates. He's member of the board of the Chinese Ecological Society, executive director of the Forest Ecology branch of the Chinese Society of Forestry. And next, let me give the floor to Mr. Zhou Benzhi. He will talk about soil organic carbon stabilization. Can you see my screen? Yes. Dear experts, dear colleagues, good morning. I'm from the Chinese Academy of Forestry and its Research Institute of Subtropical Forestry. I'm very delighted to be part of the second Global Bamboo and Rattan Congress. And I'm also very honored to speak at today's parallel session. Today, I will talk about SOC stabilization. I will share with you a case study on out-of-management mossel bamboo forests. There are 6 aspects in my presentation. Soil carbon pool is the largest carbon pool in terrestrial ecosystems, about 3 times as much as vegetation carbon pool. And the carbon in soil is retained much longer than that in vegetation biomass. Please put your slides on full screen. Is it all right now? Can we have it full screen? Professor Zhou, please share your slides again so that we can see your slides on full screen. Let me deal with the technical problems first. Is it full screen now?
然后就可以全屏了。
No, not yet.
是全屏吗？现在？
现在还不是，现在没有进入放映画面，您那儿是不是卡顿呀？
那也有卡顿啊，也是。
Maybe just because of bad connection.
喂，哎，您好，周老师，您点一下上面有个放映。
Professor Zhou, you need to press a button to run the slides.
还是共享的 PPT 呀？
Please confirm whether you are sharing your
可以点击那个共享桌面有一个。
screen or your slides.
您要共享应用程序，它只能共享这个页面，共享不了全屏的页面。
啊，要共享整个。 好啊，直接翻译。好。这个土壤碳库是占的陆地生态系统的绝大部分啊。
Soil is the largest carbon pool in terrestrial ecosystems, and there are so many indicators that may affect soil, of which land use change is the largest a factor of SOC storage. It is the second largest source of GHG emission globally.
那么土壤有机碳的稳定性，它是。
不好意思，再打扰一下，您这个没有跟上您现在讲的这个页面，我们看到的还是您的第一页。
The speaker is not sharing the right slide.
播放页面就直接这样讲。
我看看啊，
翻页就好了。
这样能看到吗？
现在可以了，谢谢。
啊，那我就这样
周老师，
看好了。
您把那个摄像头也开一下吧，谢谢。
好的。
Please turn on your camera too.
which means that the carbon molecule can exist in the soil for a long time, which means that in a time frame, you can see the changes of the soil and the content of carbon in the soil. You can see the stability of the soil organic carbon as well as the soil organic carbon cumulative amount. And we believe SOC stability can raise the question of whether it could persist for long term or lead to the change of acid at a certain moment or period, highlighting the results of SOC stabilization. And the SOC accumulation depends on SOC stability in the long term. It can also increase SOC levels, and it can also maintain SOC stability because higher SOC can contribute to the enzyme system in stable carbon pools. First, let's look at the priming effects, right, which has been mentioned by previous speakers. And in this process, SOC stability is defined by the 6 mechanisms: the priming effects, the molecular structure, and the newly added carbon, which means the fresh carbon can also exert the priming effect. In terms of the molecular structure of an SOC compound, we fully understand that we have different carbons with different molecular structures. We have the fat and phenylcarbon, and we have different structure of the molecules, which means the results could be different. The third one is about the physical protection by the aggregates. The aggregates in the soil can also be changed by enzyme and the bioorganism in the soil. In terms of this process, you can see the physical protection can be changed through the aggregate tenure. Something's wrong with the audio system of the speakers. The system is malfunctioning. Something's wrong with the speaking system, the audio system of the speakers. The sound is keeping echoing. Malfunctioning of the system. Wait a minute. We can't hear the speakers. The sound has been just kept echoing. Something's wrong with the audio system of the speakers. Professor Zhou's sound system, the audio system has been The next speaker, Associate Professor Lee, to start his presentation. Professor Zhou will do the next presentation. Okay. Now let's welcome the fourth speaker, Professor Li Quan, who is the Associate Professor of Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University. He has engaged in the step ground research of the mossel bamboo plantations, and he has become the author and co-author of different papers, and 15 papers have been published at home and abroad, and he has also served as the Frontiers in Science magazine editor and reviewer. Now let's welcome Professor Li to talk about the effect of stump reservation on soil respiration and its response to nitrogen addition in mossel bamboo plantations. Welcome, Professor Li. Thank you for kind introduction, dear friends, dear experts. Good morning. I'm Professor Li Quan from the Bamboo Industry Institute of Zhejiang NF University. It's my honor to be at this conference again. I will talk about the effect of stump reservation on soil respiration and its response to nitrogen addition in mossel bamboo plantations. And you can see the latest data compared with the previous numbers. You can see the major changes about temperature, and the global warming will also result in the major effects, such as the glacier melting and the sea level rising and the sea acidification. And you can see this year we have suffered more extreme weather, and we have done some research in respect. At the same time, we can see the changes in ecosystem in structure and function. At the same time, we have witnessed the emission of greenhouse gases. CO2 is the most important greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, contributing 6% to the increase of global radioactive forcing. And you can see in terms of the soil respiration, CO2 comes from fossil fuel combustion and soil respiration. And fossil fuel respiration accounts for 69% of the total for soil respiration. And you can see in China, the forest is a reservoir, and global forest carbon storage accounts for about 77% of global vegetation carbon storage. And global forest soil carbon storage accounts for about 39% of the global soil carbon storage. And you can see based on the FAO data, in terms of the global forest carbon storage, which has been mentioned again, it's about 77% of the total, which means that forest is very important carbon pool. And in this process, we needed to understand the importance of bamboo forests. And you can see global bamboo forest is about 932 million hectares, increasing at an annual rate of 3 to 5%, mainly distributed in Asia Pacific, South America, and Africa. And in China, you can see the mossel bamboo largest area is about 4.68 million and hectares. It's about 73% of the total. And in order to pursue the economic value, we have the cutting of the bamboo on a regular basis. And sometimes in China, more than 600 stems of bamboo per hectare are harvested annually. And you can see sometimes the stumps cover about 10.4% of the floor area of bamboo forests. And you can see it's mainly distributed in the subtropical area in China. Sometimes it can hit about 20.4 kilograms per hectare per year. And the level in the subtropical China can hit 30 kilograms per hectare per year. And you can see the questions. how does stump reservation affect soil respiration, and how does nitrogen input affect the stump soil respiration. And you can see the major methods and materials, and you can see the study site. It's about 15.6% in terms of 15.6 Celsius in terms of the temperature, and the rainfall 1,420. And you can see we have the setup of the temperature and the rate of 30, 60, 90 kilogram per hectare per year. And you can see the date from January 2013 to December 2019. And we have the 3-year to 5-year stems period. And you can see from January 2019 to December 2019, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And we have 2 times per month, twice a month, and 24 times a year. And we can also monitor the humidity and the temperature. And in April and July 2019, we have the sampling methods of stump and some soil. And we have the lignin and the cellulose measurement and the soil microbial biomass carbon. We have the ADF sulfuric method and chloroform fumigation extraction method as well. And you can see we have the stump reservation researched in this process. The reservation could not change the seasonal variation of the soil respiration. And you can see in our result, you can see that stump soil temperature showed a strong seasonal variation in all time treatments, with the maximum values observed in summer and the minimum in winter, which was significantly correlated with some soil respiration. At the same time, with the time going on with the years of the stump, you can see the annual stump soil respiration. In the control treatments, the stump reservation significantly annual mean soil respiration and the annual mean are significantly increased at the first and then decrease with the age. And sometimes compared to the control, nitrogen addition significantly enhanced the annual mean RST by 7% to 145.79% and altered the pattern of the stump age because of the faster stump decomposition rate and more soil microbial biomass carbon. And you can see the MBC. You can see the stump properties. In the middle stage, you can see A3 was significantly higher than that of A1 and A5. And in this process, we can increase the MBC of the soil.
Our formula also verified this point. We found that RST was significantly and positively correlated with stump soil temperature and MBC, but significantly and negatively correlated with stump cellulose content. Through traditional method, we found out that the traditional method has a different result when we consider stump reservation. At the same time, we discovered that stump reservation significantly increased annual soil CO2 emission. At the same time, nitrogen addition aggravated the positive effects of stumps on annual soil CO2 emission. We also take into consideration temperature sensitivity. In the control treatment, Q10 values of stump soil respiration increased. That means a nitrogen deposition increased the Q10 of A1 and A3, but decreased that of A5. We also discovered the age pattern of temperature sensitivity of stump reservation. our conclusions. First, the stump reservation increased the soil respiration and its Q10. Second, nitrogen addition aggravated the positive effects of stumps on soil respiration and altered the Q10 of stumps. Stump soil temperature and MBC play an important role in RST. Altogether, our conclusion is that the effects of stumps on soil respiration should be considered when we estimate plantation soil CO2 efflux to improve the accuracy of ecological prediction models, especially under nitrogen addition contexts. I want to thank Professor Song and my colleagues. I look forward to your comments. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Li, for the presentation. He discovered that the stump reservation increased the soil respiration and nitrogen addition also promoted soil respiration. So his point is that stump reservation shall be considered when we calculate soil respiration. And it will also help us to have a better knowledge of bamboo forest carbon emission. The next speaker is Mr. Xu Lin, Dr. Xu Lin. He is also from Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University. In recent years, he has been working on the carbon emission reduction and carbon sequestration increase of mossel bamboo forest. He has been working on many new technologies to increase the carbon sequestration of mossel bamboo forest. He has researched the responses of different models and provided us with very important evidences. His discovery also facilitated policymaking. Dr. Xu, you have the floor now. Dear experts, good morning. Next, I will talk about my recent research. My topic is ecological and low carbon management of bamboo forest. We know that we need a stable structure, and anthropogenic actions will affect a bamboo forest and the carbon sequestration functions of the forest. In the long term, we can have 3 stages of bamboo forest management. There are 3 stages: plantation, harvest, and replantation. Bamboo with explosive and renewable growth and logging features contains a huge carbon sequestration potential. It's a very subject of research. We can look at the effects of anthropogenic actions and the adjustment of logging. We can also find out whether it can increase the sink or reduce the synergy. Mossel bamboo needs management, but we need to strike a balance to preserve the ecological environment and to ensure low carbon management. in the management of mossel bamboo forest. First, let's look at the effect of biochar input on the enhancement of carbon sink capacity. First, rational management can increase the carbon sink of bamboo forest. However, long-term management can also lead to the decrease of soil carbon sequestration capacity. In addition, the use of fertilizers can increase soil respiration and, as a result, CO2 and nitrous oxide emission. We need to know how to solve the problems of increased GHG and decreased soil carbon stability caused by long-term operation. It's a very difficult issue. Considering biochar input and long-term management, we are working on the responses from mossel bamboo forest. We use different fertilizers and different doses to see the responses. Through long-term research, we find out that with biochar input, soil respiration increases over 2 years. We use different doses like 5 tons and 15 tons, and soil respiration carbon emission increases. Now let's look at methane absorption. Biochar input increased methane absorption. On this slide, we can see nitrous oxide emission. With biochar input over 2 years, nitrous oxide emission decreased by different percentage. So generally, we can see the effect of biochar input after 2 years. We think that biochar input enhanced the carbon sink capacity of mossel bamboo forest. And there are significant differences in our treatments. With normal management measures, we can increase the carbon sequestration capacity with biochar input. Biochar is a product of pyrolysis. We can use biochar and biochar-based fertilizer to improve soil quality and increase the productivity of mossel bamboo forest. We chose bitter bamboo for our experiment. We have 4 groups: the control group and the group treated with chemical fertilizers and those treated with biochar-based fertilizers. According to our experiment, biochar-based fertilizer can increase the pH value of the plot so that we can avoid acidification. Biochar-based fertilizer can significantly decrease the emission of nitrous oxide and promoted the absorption of methane. Compared with the use of chemical fertilizer, biochar-based fertilizer is more efficient. Now let's look at their effects on carbon sink capacity of bamboo forest. We can see that dissolved organic carbon increased. Soil MBC increased as well. We compared soil sequestration, vegetation, and emission of different GHGs. And we find out that compared with a control group, the group with biochar-based fertilizer application increased the absorption of methane and decreased emission of other greenhouse gases. And the carbon sequestration capacity of the bamboo forest ecosystem increased by around 80%. I think with the use of biochar-based fertilizer, we can decrease carbon emission and increase carbon sequestration. Please go on. Another case study is on the anthropogenic actions effects in Mosul bamboo forest.
The third case study is about the effects of degradation of Philotakis persistence forest on its ecosystem carbon sink capacity. Let's look at some experiment design. If you can see the out of management bamboo forest can also result in extra costs. Now let's look at the influence on carbon sink. And you can see you have chosen the control land as analysis of the soil, physical chemical properties. And the bamboo forest degradation could reduce the content of soil ambient and nitrogen. And you can see the soil greenhouse gas emissions, the soil CO2 emissions, with the CK, the average monthly CO2 emissions of degraded physically bamboo forest was significantly decreased, 11% and 17%. And you can see the number of CO2, the annual cumulative emission of nitrogen in degraded bamboo forest was also reduced by 17.2% and 24%. And increased time going on, the Mosul bamboo forest can be reduced by 14.4%, 18.1%, and 28.2% in terms of the degradation. Now let's look at the effects of degradation of Philosakis, the substance, and you can see the CO2 emission and the nitrogen content in the soil. In terms of N2O emission of the soil flux and the methane throughput. And then we put the number together, you can see the influence on the different substance. In terms of the carbon sequestration in bamboo forest ecosystem, you can see compared with CK degradation, significantly reduce the global warming potential, and compared with CK, the degradation of most of bamboo forest vegetation plants significantly reduced by 17.3%, 63.49%, and 44.76% respectively. And we have done the estimates. You can see the overall number is about 1.9 million tons of the loss. Thank you. Thank you for your research. He has researched the biochar and its influence on the vegetation preservation and the regular managed also bamboo forest and auto management bamboo forest, master bamboo forest, and how to increase the capacity of the carbon sink. Now let's welcome Professor Zhou Benzhi to share his research, the soil organic carbon stability and its relevant research. Welcome, Professor Zhou.
哎，周老师，你能听见吗？周老师，您那边声音我们完全听不到，您看是不是还得再调一下网还是什么？
周老师。
各位专家，不好意思啊，这个网络反复出问题。
Sorry for the malfunctioning of the system. And today I'll talk about the soil organic carbon stabilization, a case study on out of management and also bamboo forests. From the following aspects, the soil carbon pool, and you can see the volume is largest carbon pool in territorial system and about 3 times that of vegetation carbon pool, and the carbon in soil is retained much longer than that in vegetation biomass. It is the land use that have changed the effect of the soil organic carbon storage, and I believe the stability of SOC can be very important for the stability of carbon in the soil, and the SOC carbon pool can be accumulated in the long term, and at the same time we need to understand the contributing factor of the stable carbon pool and to improve the stability in this process. In terms of the mechanism and different theory, let's look at a different perspective. The first one is about the priming effects after input of the fresh carbon. In this process, the fresh carbon, the new added carbon, will also interact with the original carbon in a positive or negative way. The second part is about the molecular structure of the SOC compound, which means that if we have the cyclic hydrocarbon and the aromatic hydrocarbon, you can see the process of the changes in the whole interaction. The third one is the physical protection by the aggregates. The aggregates can block the microorganisms and enzymes, and the physical nature and the physical properties of the aggregates can reduce the carbon stability in the soil. The fourth part is the chemical protection through association with soil minerals, through the minerals such as the iron and ferrous and lithium. We can witness the rising difficulty of the disintegration. The fifth one is the microbial properties. Because in this process, we have different microorganisms with different environment, and then the properties and the activity can also be changed. The fixed part is the environmental effects. I believe we have multiple factors in this regard, influencing the nature and the properties of the soil, temperature, rainfall, among other factors. These are the 6 perspectives of the influence on SOC stability. In this process, let's look at the functions of the SOC. We have different methods in this process as well. We have the chemical method, and in terms of the light fraction organic carbon, which is free, not complexed with the mineral matter, and particulate plant and animal residues undergoing the decomposition. And we have the heavy fraction organic carbon as well to look at the free process, and the organic carbon in the clay or the synthesized organomineral complexes. And we have the organic state and the residues, which sometimes we have the heavy fraction. And you can see the results and the utilization, and especially for the clay.
FOC is generally defined as those larger than 53 and water extractable. HFOC is generally smaller than 53 and has multiple forms, including small particulate organic matter, like structures encapsulated by minerals, organomineral clusters, and primary organomineral complexes. Influencing factors. The first factor is organic carbon source. Previous studies believe that the refractory chemical structure of plant-derived organic matter is a main source of SOC because they have chemical persistence. Some studies believe that stable organic carbon can be formed only when metabolites generated from plant organic matter are combined with minerals after microbial transformation. And different sources have different influence on stability. The second factor is iron and aluminum oxides. One recent study found that for coniferous forest, mixed forest, and broad-leaved forest, total SOC is closely related to the two different forms of iron and aluminum oxides. The third factor, soil depth. The influencing factors are different for soil at different depths. For example, for topsoil, plant carbon input is a major contributor to SOC. And for subsoil, mineral protection by iron aluminum oxides and cations become more important in preserving SOM. So at different depths of soil, the factors, influencing factors, vary. The fourth influencing factor is soil microbiota. Some microorganisms prefer certain substrate, so influences are different. Exudates such as organic or inorganic acids also have influences. Soil microbia can indirectly affect the stability of SOC by exudates such as enzymes, organic and inorganic acids. Now I want to walk you through our ongoing work. We are looking at out of management moso bamboo forest. We are faced with increased labor costs, more stringent environmental protection policies, and traffic inconvenience. So more and more moso bamboo forests are out of management. There is a stark comparison between managed and out of management moso bamboo forests. In managed forests, we apply fertilizers, we conduct deep tillage and harvest bamboo shoots every spring, and only log selectively every 2 years. But in out of management forests, there is no fertilization, no tillage, no removal of litter, and also no cutting and harvesting of bamboo shoots. In the past, the targets for bamboo forest research is on productivity and the environmental benefits. Only recently did we start to research the effects of out of management bamboo forest on carbon emission and SOC stabilization. We are not doing enough in terms of the research of biomass production and the stability of SOC. I think to realize the dual carbon emission peak and carbon neutrality goals, we need to do more in these fields. We have several objectives. First, to assess the change patterns of SOC reserve and its fractions with increasing years of out of management bamboo forests. Second, we need to clarify the effect of soil physiochemical properties, especially carbon degradation enzymes on soil carbon pool. Besides, we need to explore the mechanism of SOC stability change in those out of management moso bamboo forests. With those objectives in mind, we have designed a research framework. In our research, we look at SOC content, including active carbon pool and stable carbon pool. We look at their dynamics, their properties, and the effect of poor management on the size and the source of SOC pool in moso bamboo forests. We also want to know whether the contribution of plant and microbial community, microbial derived to carbon pool affect SOC stability. The methodologies in our research we have opened 40 test plots in Zhejiang province. And we take samples of soil and collect liters. Mr. Zhou, would you please focus on the major contents of your presentation? In soil property management, we analyze 4 aspects of soil samples, namely soil physiochemical properties, soil SOC fractions, soil carbon cycling hydrolytic enzymes, and microbial community. We found out that the effect of poor management on dissolved organic carbon contents is significant in Mosul bamboo forest. And the DOC content of Mosul bamboo forest is the lowest under the condition of OM1, that is short-term poor management. When we look at the relationship between soil physiochemical properties and DOC, we discovered a significant negative correlation between pH value and DOC, and positive correlation between total nitrogen, cation exchange capacity, and DOC. And when we look at the relationship between carbon cycling hydrolytic enzymes and DOC, we find a significant positive correlation between beta-glucosidase and DOC. We think ecological implication of poor management is a new issue because it is a new type of land use change, and it will affect carbon storage and stability, and long-term monitoring and studies is required. We need to do further research on SOC stability and the contribution of different mechanisms, molecular, physical, chemical, or microbial mechanisms. That is all for my presentation. Despite difficulties in delivering the presentation, Mr. Zhou still managed to finish his report. He walked us through several influencing factors, talk about SOC stability, and the necessity to do further research on poor management in Mosul bamboo forests. Up to now, we have wrapped up all the keynote presentations. We will have a short Q&A session. Professor Song Xinzhang will be the moderator of this Q&A session. Dear delegates, good morning. I think Professor Zhou is having some difficulties in terms of internet connection.
I have a question if possible.
I will take his place and be the moderator. In the first session, we talked a lot about forest management. And carbon stability, carbon emission. From our preliminary result, we can see that management, for example, the addition of fertilizers, can increase emission. But biochar input will play a positive role and increase the efflux. In the past, we didn't pay enough attention to stump reservation.
In terms of the stump, it accounts for a large share of the mossel bamboo forests. And if you look at the whole process, sometimes we need to look at the stability of the SOC in mossel bamboo forest. And in the future research, I believe we need to focus on these aspects. Another report is about the low carbon management by Mr. Xu. And it's also relevant to our topic. And then Professor Zhou has talked about the out of management mossel bamboo forest, which is quite common here in Zhejiang province due to the cost of management and the efficiency and economic output. Manufacturers have contributed to the out of management process. And another report is focused on the climate change in the whole ecosystem in terms of the biomass and the soil carbon and the stability of the carbon and the biodiversity and the plantation and the vegetation and the water and rainfall, which should also be our focus in the future research. Any ideas? Brian and Peter?
Yes. I hope everyone can hear me all right. Thank you for calling. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for calling on me. I do general electrical engineering, systems engineering with concentration in aerospace. My question is, we're having a very similar problem in the aerospace industry on the topic of robotic maintenance, in that maintenance and management require a lot of attention, and attention is time consuming and expensive and energy intensive. Excuse me, I'm not professional right now. I'm on travels. But my question is, are you open at all to robotic and artificial intelligence maintenance of the forest? Because it is a very energy intensive activity and does require a lot of attention to detail and care. And these are expensive resources.
这个问题是谁来回答？但是他在这里提到的问题是不一样的。当然，你可以现在回答他现在的问题。
这个我稍微解释一下啊，这个人工智能机械化。
In terms of artificial intelligence and robotic method, I believe in China it is a leading trend in terms of the mossel forest, bamboo forest. When you think about the cost, right? In terms of the harvesting and in terms of the materials and the shoots, we need to look at the cost. If you put in the robot or artificial intelligence, the cost would be way too high. Maybe we can carry out some pilot program or demonstration program if we can prove the cost is lower than that of the economic output, maybe this will be the future trend of our research. Thank you for your kind question.
Thank you for the good answer.
Due to the time frame, I believe we have the online chatting box question from Brian Biller. If there is no other questions from the audience, maybe we can wrap it up for this session. Thank you, everyone. Next session will start in 10 minutes, 10:30 a.m. Okay. Next session will start in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, let's enter the second session. It's about the bamboo sequestration and carbon sink. The first presentation will be presented by Mr. Wang Guangyu and Pan Zhiyu. And Wang Guangyu is a PhD and professor in the British Columbia University, and he has covered research of the comprehensive forest research and a comprehensive water management and carbon market research. And the Dean, Mr. Wang, has also covered the research of sustainable projects, and he is now researching the carbon sink, forestry sink, and carbon market research. In science, environment, agriculture, biology, forest ecology and management, magazines and journals, he has published over 100 papers. And he has also been very excellent in terms of the strategic management of the resources and the land resources management and public budgeting. And Mr. Pan Zhiyu is also a PhD student in University of British Columbia. He has also researched the bamboo and the forest carbon sink, and he's now being jointly cultivated in the team of Zhejiang University of Culture and Forestry, during which he has won different scholarships, Baron David, Michael Fellowship, President Academic Excellence in Chief Awards, among others. And he has also served as an exchange student in Beijing University of Forestry. And he has also served as the research assistant in the University of British Columbia, researching the forestry market and the online research presentation for Qinghai Forestry Bureau. And he has published 2 papers as well. Now let's welcome Dr. Pan to talk about the bamboo forest carbon project potential and the key challenges and the future. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to the moderator. Today, I'm very honored to share with you the bamboo forest carbon sink projects. I will talk about my presentation from the following aspects in terms of distribution of resources and the global importance of the projects and status quo of the bamboo projects, as well as the great potential of bamboo projects. And I will also cover the key challenges in bamboo projects and future prospects. Now let's look at the global distribution in tropical, subtropical area and the neotropical area. In the Asia-Pacific area, you can see we have the most species. We have over 900 species out of the over 100,000 species across the world. In Europe, they have no local bamboo species. And based on the Singapore State University professor research, you can see he has analyzed over 70 bamboo species, and he has also researched the carbon sink capacity, and it is about 16,228 mgc per hectare in terms of the above ground carbon. In terms of the below ground carbon, it's about 8 to 64 mg per hectare. And you can see the strong capacity of the biomass. Based on the latest report from UN from 19 1990 to 2000, we have increased over 50% of the bamboo forest land area, especially due to the increase in China and India. And in China, we have about 35 million hectares, and 71% comes from Asia, accounting for 24 million hectares. China and India have been quite important in this contribution. Based on their reports, from 1990 to 2020, the number is on a steady increase in terms of bamboo forest land area. In India, the increase is quite sharp, and in terms of the bamboo forest sink, and you can see the significance. According to the World Bank 2020 report, the bamboo forest carbon accounts for about 40% of the total, and we have about 350 million tons of the carbon credit in bamboo forests. We have the 50-50% ratio of the strong and weak bamboo forest market distribution. This is due to the report from the FAO country report 2020, and look at the CCER and MCCR, and CCER is serving different countries in the carbon market here, especially in Hubei province, Tongshan County, INBAR project, and for FFCR, we have the IFM project in Shunchang County, Fujian province. In China, we have the voluntary markets, such as the ecological products, Anji Langshan Corporation, and the Guizhou Individual Standard Carbon Platform. In terms of the global perspective, we have the VCS, which is the international standards, and we have 13 total VCS, and 2 have been registered, and we have 2.5% of the VCS forestry projects that have been based on bamboo forests. In terms of the bamboo forest carbon sink, you can see the high potential. We have the high carbon benefit. I believe the bamboo forest has a higher carbon sequestration potential. It has the high growth rate and a high biomass accumulation as well. In our research, we have found that for most of bamboo forests, it is about 1.4 times that of the other forest and 1.3 times that of the typical rainforest. And each year, if we look at the number of the one mossel bamboo stand, it is about 8 kilograms CO2 per year. In terms of the bamboo forests, we have 3% of the land area of the forest area, of course, and we have about 7 or 8% of the carbon benefit. Now let's look at the bamboo forest carbon sink. Let's look at the bamboo forest's short harvest cycle. Sometimes it's annual or biannual, and this is the ratio of the harvest cycle. And in this process, we have the huge product carbon pool potential, and most of the products can go to a wide range of products. And I believe in this process, the carbon can also be stored in 20 or 30 years. In this process, the carbon sink in terms of the bamboo forest has been quite direct, and we can also look at the high ecological benefit. We can produce a lot of wood substitution. For example, on the slide, from the Southwest University of Agriculture, you can see in their research, we can have a lot of the bamboo stand replacing the wood stand. In this way, we can save the forests, reduce the cutting and over-harvesting of the forests. At the same time, we have the bamboo replacing plastic substitute. This is in Anji County research. We can use bamboo to replace the plastic kitchenware, such as the straws or the chopsticks. In this way, we can reduce the CO2 emission and environmental damage. On the other hand, in terms of the bamboo forest carbon sink, we have the social benefits as well. Sometimes we can explore different bamboo forests. For bamboo forests, different from the trees, right? Sometimes it will take 20 or 30 years to harvest the forest. However, for the bamboo forest, it will only take about 1 year or 2 years to harvest. Sometimes each year we can gain the social benefits and economic benefits out of it. And the bamboo forest and the tree forests have been quite different from each other. And we can have more flexibility in terms of the harvesting of the bamboo forests. Especially, I believe that the farmers can have the right to decide when to harvest, and sometimes each year they can gain the extra carbon credits or the extra income from the carbon credit. And in China, you can see our strategic importance, and President Xi has also mentioned that we have the carbon peak and the carbon neutrality target. And President Xi has also mentioned that the water and the lush mountains are invaluable assets. And in this process, you can see our determination, and this is quite important for the future development of the bamboo forests with the great potential. The prospect. With all of these benefits, in recent years, we have found the flat growth of the carbon projects of the bamboo forests. And on one hand, I believe our market has presented high requirement on the enterprises. And sometimes in terms of CCER and FFCER, the demand has been limited. And we need to decide what we can do. We have the mixed voice from different sources. I believe someone has to turn on the mute. Please mute your microphone. Someone has to mute the microphone. Please continue. In terms of the CCER market, at the same time, we believe if I'm the developer of one project, through my monitoring for the past 5 years for the carbon credit, I have some extra credit in my hands. Then I have no motivation for the next 5 years of development. And I don't know whether the bamboo forest is healthy or not, whether it has been jeopardized by the natural disasters. And I believe in China, we have a lot of projects well underway. CCER has been paused in 2017, and we have a lot of preparation to kick off the projects again. And in this way, we can have flourishing development of those projects in China. And on the other hand, I believe COVID-19 has exerted a major impact on our development as well. Let's look at the carbon market. Once the economy is at the bottom, the enterprises have no motivation to do that, and they don't know how to develop those projects with policy support. And now let's look at the market size. With no extra economic benefits, they can't gain the extra income. They don't have the extra money to invest in the carbon market process to gain more credit or more zinc.
Another key challenge is cost-benefit challenge. First, China is having a rising labor cost. Each day, we need to pay the workers 200 to 300 RMB for managing work in the forests, like applying fertilizers and removing weeds. And the most important thing is that we cannot find enough workers to help do this job because it's a very tough job. Secondly, forest management comes with a high cost. When we run a carbon project, we need strengthened forest management. That means higher costs or double costs. Plus, we need to apply more fertilizer. Climate change has also resulted in more and more extreme weather events. This year, we only had limited precipitation. In such cases, we also need irrigation. And then, of course, drip irrigation, facilities, and water tanks. Without water, there won't be bamboo shoots either. The cost of project development is also very high. First, the procedures are very complicated, including project design, monitoring, verification, etc. Many people are not experts, so they need to hire a third party or a professional team. That's costly. And second, for validation and verification, we also need to invite a third-party agency certified by national authorities. It costs a lot too. And as with monitoring, we can do it by ourselves or hire a third party, but still we need to have dozens of plots, sampling plots. So all in all, after deducting all the fixed costs, revenue is very limited for bamboo farmers. The bamboo prices vary in different localities across China. In many localities, it costs 200 to 300 RMB per ton. And in Fujian province, it could reach 600 to 700 RMB per ton. But the price of carbon sequestration is not very high. FFCER price is around 20 RMB, CCER price around 30. So we can see the margin is very small. Some people, I think most people dare not go into this business blindly. The government usually has a lot of publicity campaigns, but when you enter the market, government assistance would be limited. For example, county level governments don't have related subsidies or funds. Technology could be another challenge. We have abundant bamboo resources, but a limited number of factories near project sites because the bamboo products make up a very important part of our carbon projects. When we have a supporting factory nearby, transportation costs could be brought down. In some provinces, such as Yunnan province, they have a large stock of bamboos, but they don't have factories, processing factories nearby. There are also some gaps. For example, Yunnan province, I mentioned earlier that it has abundant bamboo resources, but their research hasn't caught up. It is also very hard to quantify the carbon pool of bamboo products and hard to trace the share of final products. For example, it's very easy to trace before the stage of preliminary products, but after that, it would be very hard. There is also inequality between bamboo farmers and project developers. Generally speaking, the public doesn't have a very good knowledge of carbon credits, so they have information asymmetry. And they would have disputes, and the bamboo farmers would be very vulnerable in their negotiations with project developers. Looking into the future, I think the carbon market is very promising, but we need more innovation from local governments. In Fujian province, they have set up many eco banks and cooperatives. They pool the forest rights of individual bamboo farmers and develop projects. Later, they return revenues to individuals. By doing so, we can lower the cost. Outstanding examples include Sanming City, Anji County, and Zhejiang Province too. On this slide, you can see the certificates for carbon credit purchase. The governments have come to realize that bamboo forests face a lot of degradation problems. So they need to do more to protect the bamboo forests and at the same time help with advances in carbon credit projects. Forest production could be very lucrative. We can plant crops in the bamboo forests and also raise animals and poultry. Most of such production won't have substantial impact on the carbon credits of bamboo forests. Sometimes such production could promote the carbon credit capacity of bamboo forests. We also need to explore the potential of large sympodial bamboo species, such as dragon bamboo of Yunnan province, that comes with a very large size. Many large sympodial bamboos are distributed in southwest China, but their management is very poor. So we need more R&D support. This is a picture from Xinping County of Yunnan province, and it shows you dragon bamboo. Besides, we need to improve methods. Some propose minimal cost and simplified procedures. But without certain procedures, the credibility of the product would be undermined. In the future, we also need to enhance the public awareness of carbon credits and encourage bamboo farmers to play a part in carbon credit projects and their development. Innovative technologies like new harvesting machinery and transportation machinery could also be a direction in our future work because they can help lower labor costs. Thank you. I look forward to your feedback and comments. Thank you. Thank you for the excellent presentation. He looked back at the global resources and carbon credit market. He also told us about the potential of carbon market in China, analyzed the benefits, challenges, and give us future prospects of carbon credit market. The next speaker is Mr. Lin Yuyang. He's the CEO of Beijing Qianyuhui Investment. Ever since 2016, he has participated in the international voluntary carbon market and has been actively developing the domestic forest and grass carbon sink projects to make China's emission reduction achievements visible in the form of international transactions. He's also a member of the UN Climate Change Alliance, the EU International Blockchain Trust Application Association, International CET Association, and other organizations. He has been invited by the World Bank and other organizations to talk about the application of blockchain in the field of climate. In recent years, he has actively promoted the authenticity, transparency, and trading efficiency of carbon market with new technologies. Mr. Lin, welcome. You have the floor now. Thank you. It's a very great honor for me to speak here and talk about the application of blockchain technology in the carbon market. I want to thank the organizer for the invitation, and I will share with you some state-of-the-art technologies.
When it comes to blockchain and the bamboo carbon market, to look at the size of the market, it's called voluntary carbon market, VCM. And this market has started from 2005. And before 2000, we have the small-scale regional trading, which is based on ETR and GDN, another trading mechanism. And then with time going on, you can see from the ecosystem market presence. And now, in terms of the market size, is about over 1 billion, right? And in about 2020, the market has surged sharply. And I believe compared with 2021, we can see the growth here. And why we have such sharp growth based on the market of blockchain and financial development. In the future, blockchains, BCN and ICBN, you can see the report. BCM, the market size will be about 180 billion USD, which means that it's over 90 times of the current market volume. And maybe we need to look at the requirement for emission reduction based on Paris Agreement. I believe the market demand will also be on the rise. That is why you can see in blockchain market over the years, we have been innovating along the way. And I believe some innovative teams have been detecting the potential, and they want to use technology to deal with climate change. And we have some very famous blockchain application. You can see the cases here. Kimoda and token and tokenization of carbon credit is the major way. You can see carbon credit has become the token on the blockchain, right? Based on the Wall Street Journal, from October 2021 to March 2022, we have 23 million carbon credits that were moved onto crypto networks. 28% of the credits removed from the registries during the period. And how it was moved? It is a cloud-based registry trading network. For example, through VCS, Golden Standard, and SDM, they have used a very low price to purchase the carbon credit programs, and then it has been transferred onto the network of blockchain. How they were transferred or moved onto the network? Most of the systems have not been connected to the carbon market because it is the centralized closed system of the carbon market. They have no open interface to blockchain. And then first, we have the association, Kimado, to offset the carbon credit. For example, for 1,000 VCU offset by Kimado, and then we have 1,000 ton token in the blockchain. And then let's look at the liquidity pool. Once it enters the liquidity pool, we can have the users on the blockchain, individual users or not, that can accept the tokens. They can use this kind of carbon credit for the offsetting. Last year, we have the market reaction from the blockchain system. That is why, based on which, years ago, we started our blockchain research equal to ledger. We have used the blockchain system, and we have tested our system, and we have utilized tokenization system, and it has also been acknowledged by the UNEP in energy and canning. The report, you can see the one use case listed here. We have provided different functions. We have the decentralized trading in a blockchain network. They can publish their order or purchase or sell, and they can have the point-to-point sale, and they can also engage in the blockchain management. They can use the token for the voting. They can choose the different nodes for the registry or for the account booking, for the booking. And in this system, recent years, the blockchain has been widely used in the carbon market. However, on May the 22nd this year, VCS has released a report to temporarily suspend the tokenization of credits. And this is the new regulation. And in this regard, VCS and other standards have followed suit. You can see there are major concerns. This is about the double counting, right? In the carbon market, this kind of carbon credit has been offset. It has been used once already. If it has become the token on the blockchain, when you use it again, it will become the second time utilization. At the same time, there's no mechanism to ensure that when these organizations have purchased 5,000 VCS, they can have the exact number of 5,000 tons of the token on it. Maybe it could be only about 1,000 or 2,000, not 5,000. There's no monitoring mechanism. Once there is token breakthrough, we need to look at the exchange of the digital currency, and we will witness the uncertainty, right? For Bitcoin, it's about $20,000. For last year, it is about $60,000 per Bitcoin, and you need to think about the newcomers, the developers and owners of the carbon credit have faced the uncertainties, and they need to look at the sharp growth or sharp decrease. And you need to know your customer, and at very large, you need to understand on the blockchain network, you cannot avoid the system of the verification. And once you look at the system, who can represent the specific trading system behind the scene. At the same time, let's look at the revision of the terms, services, and student standards, and VCS. The users are forbidden to use the carbon credit on other systems. Some legal concerns have also been raised, and they need to look at the full-fledged system, and environmental protectors would not like to be engaged in such mechanisms at this moment. And then let's look at the technology-oriented system, the digital MRV. monitor report verification. And in this process, let's look at the decentralized registry. At a different time frame, let's look at the different systems. And in all of the time frames or different nodes, we can have the tampering and backfiling. And we can also use the satellite for the verification of data transfer. And in the real market, we need to monitor the bamboo forest and the growth, and the information can be moved onto the blockchain. And I believe through the AI and biometrics and the big data, it can be transferred into the carbon sink calculation, and it can also be taken over by the computer. In terms of the verification layer, you can see all of the information can be traced from the source of the data. We can ensure the information is accurate and the environment or climate is integral. And all of the carbon credit can be calculated and moved onto the chain. It is a full-fledged digital process, and the information can also support the market pleasures. For example, individual carbon accounts and the business carbon neutrality calculation or business blockchain utilization. They can look at the carbon market data access. Once the market is diversified, more people will trust the authenticity of the data and they will become part of it. In the carbon market, we need to look at the cross-regional and cross-country transaction. I believe in VCS program, China has limited focus on VCS system. However, the government needs to understand the previous transaction volume. Once we have the blockchain system, we can solve the transaction or trading governance in different regions. In this way, we can access different database, and I believe based on the local laws and regulations, in the same trading mechanism, we can have the diversity and the tolerance of different trading methods. OTC is a major trading methods. It's not very transparent, however, it would result in the uncertainty of the message information, and the buyers and the purchasers and the sellers do not have the clear information. Some exchange and some institutes have been trying to enter this market as well. However, in different systems, once you are in exchange, the information is not transparent to you. And I believe if we can have the offsetter or verifier or the developer engaging in the same system in one region, I believe the carbon market is more accessible to all of those stakeholders. Another case in point, and let's look at trading mechanism. In China, we have over one mechanism. I believe we have the different mechanisms with different verification. Sometimes you need to understand which mechanism is available and which one is more relevant. And you need to look at the different markets with different price. In the carbon market, I believe sometimes you need to understand the multi-layer registry. I believe if you need to look at the local standards, or the standards in different mechanisms, and they can incorporate all of the mechanisms in one registry, and I believe, wait a minute, system is more functioning again.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
继续。
Yes, please go on. By doing so, carbon credits in different contexts can cater to different markets. We can combine all the market information and allow in more region-specific carbon credits so that they can be advertised on a common international context. This is a mechanism of ITMO, internationally transferred mitigation outcomes. They're doing some work to launch this mechanism. Some guidelines have been launched, and some pilot programs have also been organized. In a life cycle of a bamboo carbon credit project, we need to first collect all the information and then go through verification by standards, and then the credits are traded, then carbon emission is offset. During this whole process, there are so many players, including governments, NGOs, financial agencies, accounting firms, exchanges, enterprises. I think different players can have different rights so that we can have a whole chain oversight. I think bamboo carbon credit is rarely seen. In the future, we can adopt such a transparency and oversight mechanism so that the eco protection value of the bamboo forests can be realized, and the governments can design more appropriate policies. It will also be easier for the players to get green finance support. The values would be well known. Accounting problems could be resolved. With a lot of carbon credit in the account, it's very hard for a bank to evaluate the total sum of my asset. So we need to integrate everything into an accounting system. We need a universal registry to calculate in view of the NDC and the carbon peak and the carbon neutrality goals. We need to do this because we need to integrate everything into a national registry for better calculation. A blockchain system is taking shape. That's why we need to upgrade the bamboo carbon credit system to meet future demands. We can try integrating blockchain technology into the whole system of bamboo carbon credit so that in the future we can avoid many problems. The major value of the labels is convenience in reporting. In the blockchain system, the users can see real time the carbon credit trade, and an integrated registry would make the carbon market more influential and more active. It would help us to build an international community with shared future. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for the excellent presentation. Blockchain technology has received a lot of attention in recent years because its structure is very unique and can help us resolve the issue of credibility. Bamboo carbon credit, if equipped with blockchain technology, can also resolve the issue of transparency and credibility and have more market demands. The next speaker is Professor Shi Yongjun comes from Zhejiang A&F University. He is a doctoral supervisor and he has worked a long time on forest or bamboo forest carbon sink management and monitoring. He has presided over many R&D projects and he has developed 4 national or industry standards on bamboo carbon sink, bamboo carbon credit, and carbon credit monitoring methodologies. He has also won many state level and provincial level awards on science and technology advances. Professor Shi Yongjun will talk about management, measurement, and monitoring of bamboo carbon sequestration projects. Dear friends, good morning. I will address the topic of management, measurement, and monitoring of bamboo carbon sequestration projects. There are 4 parts in my presentation. First, key management techniques and operation of bamboo carbon sequestration projects. Second, major carbon measurements for bamboo management project. Third, the key points of monitoring carbon sequestration for bamboo management project. Fourth, attention and expectation about bamboo carbon sequestration project. First of all, let's look at management and operation techniques of bamboo carbon sequestration projects. For over 20 years, we have been doing related research. We calculate the net CO2 sequestration of mossel bamboo forests. So the net CO2 sequestration each year is around 24.3 tons per hectare, much higher than other forest types. Mossel bamboo can regulate nutrients and stabilize carbon. First, it can regulate nutrients and remediate soil. We can apply compound fertilizer and soil remediation reagents or bamboo charcoal into the soil. After 3 to 4 years, carbon sequestration can be increased by 27.6%, and carbon emission could be reduced by 20%. Second, bamboo forest structure optimization. Yearly, we remove the weak shoots, young shoots, reserve mid-term strong shoots, and excavated shoots should be less than half of all the sprouting shoots. We classify bamboo columns into different types and have different treatments for them. We think the density of standing columns should be more than 3,600 per hectare. Third, let's look at how we can reduce soil disturbance. When we apply fertilizers, we should note that the fertilizers shall come in short band gutter along contour lines, 10-meter long, 20-centimeter deep, and the bands should be separated with a 5-meter interval. Then we shall cover the fertilizer with soil. In farmland management, forest management, we shall cut the bush and the grass every 3 to 4 years and compost the litter or bury them. The land should be tilled every 4 years, each time less than a quarter of the total acreage. I mentioned many techniques, and they shall be implemented in different plots with science-based guidance. Part 2, I will talk about the key technologies or techniques. We are mainly working on the Chinese market because we have a very urgent demand from bamboo farmers. In 2016, we prepared the project methodologies for carbon sequestration from bamboo forest management. We think bamboo carbon sequestration is very promising. And our project can enter the CCER market. When we select carbon pools for measurement, we have several indicators or criteria. First, above ground biomass, and then underground biomass, dead comes, litter, SOC, and bamboo products. Dead comes, litter, and SOC could be ignored because in practice, dead comes and the litter only have a percentage of less than 5% in a carbon pool, so they can be excluded in our calculation. Now, about baseline investigation, we mainly look at acreage, age structure of bamboos, etc. We maintain the existing bamboo forests in terms of their structure and quality. And to reduce cost, we need to stratify carbon sequestration.
And in extreme conditions, we should look at the structure of the bamboo and the different scenarios of the carbon sequestration. Let's look at this slide. In terms of the baseline carbon sink measurement, we have 3 carbon pools: above ground, below ground, and bamboo products. In terms of the above ground carbon pool, we need to look at the normally constant dynamic balance. For below ground carbon pool is calculated upon the ratio of above and below ground biomass, which is the dynamic ratio for the estimates of the number. The third carbon pool is about the products. Let's look at several factors. Each year, the harvesting and CF, the carbon percentage of the bamboo species, and the BPP. For this project, we need to look at the weight and the ratio, and we need to look at the different method of processing and the production and processing, and the carbon utilization and usage rate, and IF, the degrading coefficient of the products after the ending of the product, or 30 years. Let's look at the final number of the bamboo products that are still being used. And now let's look at the carbon pool and its consistency. For the above ground, we need to optimize the whole process. It's dynamic. We need to look at the stability and how to achieve the dynamic balance in different phases. Second, let's look at the method and our specific project carbon sink calculation and the project CO2 emission reduction calculation based on the project scenario and its utilization. You can see the equation here. The extra climate change number will also be calculated in this process. Based on Professor Zhou's team research and practice from 2015 in China, in Hubei and Zhejiang, in 6 counties, we have the practice here. In terms of the bamboo forest practice, you can see each year for each hectare, we have about 6.73 tons of the CO2 emission reduction each year per hectare. And you can see we have about 300,000 hectares of the project. The third aspect is about the key points of monitoring carbon sequestration for bamboo management project. In this regard, to look at the carbon monitoring and the number here, and we don't have to use the new number of monitoring. It is based on the baseline carbon sink, and we have used the satellite navigation and the positioning, and we need to look at the efficiency of the management and operation. Once we have the disasters, what we should do? And once we have changed the land use type, what we should do in response? The final and most important one is about the vegetation. The biomass and the carbon sink, it is a sampling in the permanent plot based on the nitrogen. We have the drones and remote sensing for monitoring. In terms of the accuracy of the monitoring, you need to look at the requirement here. The monitoring precision is 90% and reliability of 90%. For monitoring cycle, it's about 4 to 6 years. We choose the odd number and 2, 4, 6, for example. You can see the total number and look at the equation, and you can see the calculation here. The bamboo changing coefficient, and sometimes the fusion coefficient has changed dramatically. And sometimes it's 0.1 to 0.2 in terms of the variable coefficient value. Based on this precision requirement, for every 200 hectares of the plot, we need at least one single species bamboo project. Sometimes we need to cover the area of the sample plot is 400 to 600 square meters. Now let's look at the monitoring program of Mosul bamboo forest. It is the whole area. It will also be relevant to the future development and the functioning. We need to pave the foundation. Let's look at hectares, 58,800 hectares of the Mosul bamboo forest. And we have the spacing of monitoring sample plot. In terms of the number, it is about 140 in terms of the precision. And for every 2 years, we will have the continuous and dynamic monitoring. Last but not least, I want to share with you the attention and expectation on bamboo carbon sequestration projects. First, let's look at the additionality. It's about the net amount of carbon sequestration produced by the bamboo forest management activities, excluding the baseline carbon sequestration. Now, let's also look at the authenticity. We should meet the requirements of the measurable, reportable, and verifiable. The third part is about the player topic, the diversity issue, and want to look at the economic benefit. At the same time, we should also look at the ecological and the environmental benefits. The first part is the timeliness. And in this time frame, the credits are effective only in the specific project time period. And we should also look at the long periodicity, and you need to look at the long periods of the project to complete the relevant targets listed in the emission reduction process. And last one is the non-repeatability. Emission reduction targets for the same project can only be traded within one mechanism. In terms of the future development expectation, and based on our research, we can find some issues in the process. We can use the new methodology to look at the bamboo carbon sequestration project with forest management to facilitate the international transaction of bamboo forest carbon credits. At the same time, we hope to promote a transfer of forest land and promote the bamboo forest management in a large-scale and unified model. This is the reliability guarantee. The third part is about the digitalization of BCS projects and simplify measurement and monitoring methods. In this way, we can ensure the specific precision. The fourth part is that we can promote the front running of bamboo carbon credits and shorten the transaction period and gain the extra credit or extra income of the carbon credit. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zhi, for your great insights. You have shared with us the major management and monitoring requirements and different methodologies. Some cases have also been shared to evaluate the future trend. I believe this report is quite important for the future carbon sink and carbon sequestration projects. The last speaker is Professor Zhou, the former vice president, home president of Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University, and he is the director of the Provincial Forestry Research Lab of Zhejiang Province, and I believe he is also the lab director of the carbon sequestration and carbon emission reduction research, and he is also the discipline lead of the forestry research, and he has long engaged in the carbon sequestration by forests and the carbon sink calculation and its major influence, and he has published over 200 papers, and he has also chaired over 36 projects, and he has also attended the UN Climate Change Conference with major contributions. And he is one of the most influential scientists in carbon sink and carbon sequestration. He has also been awarded by the national programs and 2 Zhejiang Provincial Project Award. Now let's welcome Mr. Zhou.
好，那作为全国著名的竹乡呢，安吉县的竹产品涵盖10大类3000多种。在双碳战略和加速推进竹产业创新发展的背景之下呢，安吉县林业局和浙江农林大学联合开展了安吉县10大类竹产品碳足迹、碳标签研究，制定了标准化的评估方法。下面呢，首先要有请到的是浙江省特级专家、国家林草局竹林碳汇工程技术研究中心主任周国国，为我们介绍安吉县10大类竹产品碳足迹、碳标签的研究成果。有请周教授。
各位领导、各位专家，今天很高兴到这里来介绍一下这个安吉10大类竹产品碳足迹、碳标签的一些情况。那么我们知道，双碳目标的实现最根本的是要知道 碳排放了多少，吸收了多少。那么碳足迹呢，就是衡量碳排放的一个最为重要的一个指标。通俗的讲呢，碳足迹就是计算碳排放的数量，并且呢具有溯源的特征。那么碳足迹呢是衡量人类活动当中释放的，或者在产品和服务过程当中累计排放的二氧化碳量和其他的温室气体。它呢具有。
And in this process, it is quite important for the whole country. I believe carbon footprint label is also an important part of it. I believe in the whole world, you can find that they have been required to present the carbon footprint label. And over 1,000 enterprises have been required to do that.
China has also issued a lot of carbon neutrality policies and carbon labeling policies. We also have certification systems on whole life cycle traceability and green trade standards. Among foreign trade companies, we are promoting the carbon footprint system to meet the demands from our trading partners, such as the EU. We have also put together many projects and programs on carbon footprint. Bamboo is a very good raw material for processing. While producing bamboo and wood products, we not only emitted CO2, but also transferred and sequestrated carbon storage. So according to international standards, we can offset some carbon emission. It is a low carbon product or even negative carbon product. 10 years ago, from 2012 to 2013, my team entrusted by a private sector player investigated over 100 bamboo product companies in 4 provinces. We analyzed the low carbon or even negative carbon characteristics of 9 typical bamboo products. We have also published the research on the carbon storage and carbon footprint of bamboo products. Those research have helped Chinese bamboo companies to be enlisted into the contractor catalog of IKEA and other famous international companies. In the past 2 years, our team went to 18 bamboo product companies in Anji County of Zhejiang province. And we investigated the data on the carbon footprint of 46 carbon products. The functional unit we used is kilogram carbon equivalent per kilogram of product. We used the PS 2050 and ISO 14067 as evaluation benchmarks. The boundary for calculation is life cycle. And the emission we focus on are fossil fuel, electricity generating energies, etc. We accurately calculated the CO2 emission across the whole life cycle of bamboo products and the carbon storage benefits of bamboo products. Altogether, we have compiled the carbon footprints of 46 bamboo products of 10 types and have calculated the average carbon footprints for 10 major types of bamboo products. We have also realized the traceability of the carbon footprint of the whole life cycle of bamboo products. We have designed a carbon label for bamboo products from Anji County to realize full traceability and transparency. The stars tell us about the level of the carbon label, and the QR code would be the entry for having traceability. Evaluation method, by scanning the QR code, you can get to know the company, the product, the evaluation method we use in carbon footprint evaluation, etc. And also the e-certificate for carbon labeling, calculation of carbon footprint, and the carbon label of the product. We want to have smart management of carbon footprints. So in the future, we can have a digital scenario, a smart scenario. Within this scenario, we have three perspectives to look at: the carbon sequestration benefits, the carbon sink, carbon source, and the carbon footprint. And we have three themes to address: evaluation of carbon footprint, certification of carbon labels, and the calculation of carbon storage. Our efforts will contribute to the low carbon and high quality development of businesses, help them with evaluation and certification of carbon footprints and carbon labeling. This is the digital or smart platform we have launched. It focuses on the carbon footprint of this industry. From this platform, we can have various data sets. We can get to know the production and sales value of certain product, and of course, the product's carbon footprint. And also, we get to know where the gaps are. This platform integrates online and offline scenarios. So we have different approaches to showcase or displays products with carbon labels. And for e-commerce users, we also have a system, a credit system for them. The credits you have can be exchanged for room and board, or catering services, or shopping coupons. The smart system facilitated provincial efforts to integrate data and services. For the government, they can integrate all the carbon footprints and carbon labels into one platform for better management and more accurate, targeted policies. And For businesses, they can have a better data management system for carbon benefit evaluation. And for products, we give them analysis on emission reduction potentials for better competitiveness. Digitally empowered platform can also help us restructure the industry. We have chosen the representative products across 10 types of bamboo products, and for the following, more work is on the way. We hope that by the end of this year, the digital platform for carbon footprints and carbon labeling can be launched. Thank you. Today, the carbon footprint and carbon labeling of 10 types of bamboo products from Anji County will be launched. We have delegates from the National Forestry and Grassland Association and delegates from the Chinese Academy of Forestry and Zhejiang Provincial Authorities, the Engineering Research Center of Bamboo Carbon Sequestration of the National Forestry and Grassland Administration, and delegates from the State Keep Laboratory. 3, 2, 1. Launched. A photo together. Let's take a picture to memorize this moment. Next, we will award the certificates and the labels. First, some corporate delegates from Zhejiang province. Please come to the podium. And a Director General from the National Forestry and Grassland Administration. Leaders and business delegates, please come to the podium for the awarding ceremony of certificates and carbon labels. A family photo together. Thank you all. Please be seated. Dear experts, dear delegates, the 4 presentations of session 2 have come to an end. We talked about the extension of carbon credit projects, their potential, etc. Professor Zhou also launched the carbon labels for 10 representative bamboo products. If you have any question, please raise your hand.
各位嘉宾代表啊，我简单介绍一下
I guess I want to introduce Shenzhen 万千 Industrial Development Co. Limited. General Manager Mr. Zhang Zhiheng is general manager of this company, and the Wanchen Industry Development Committee was established in 2018, and it was established by bank founder Wang Shi, engaging in cross-border carbon credit exchange and transaction. It is aimed at the carbon trading, centralized management, and trading with compliance treatment. It has utilized blockchain to connect with global standards for Chinese enterprises to purchase and offset the carbon quota. And I believe in this way, Chinese businesses can gain benefit out of it. Golden standards and other international cross-border trading system have also joined hands to promote this function. Wanchen Industry Development Co. Limited is the only one team to dedicate itself to promoting the trading of carbon in China, USA, Japan, among others. In this way, all of the systems will connect the dots to establish the industry standards for the whole sector. This is the brief introduction of Mr. Zhang Zhiheng. If you have any questions, please voice your opinions and give us a feedback. We welcome questions from the audience.
请这个全运会环保公司的 CEO 林阳先生。
CEO Min Yao of the Environmental Protection Company. Welcome. We can discuss with each other any topic of your interests. Let me start first, okay? After listening to the presentations, I've been getting a lot of takeaways. I believe we want to have the long-term deployment in the transaction terminal, and in this process, we have made some preparations. For example, in the project development, we have been working with some consultation companies, Shanghai Huangmouqiao Consultation and Shenzhen Huangmouri Consultation Company. We have been working with different CEOs, and to the front end, we have been trying to working in the VCS, International Gold Standard, and we have also used the backwater method to deal with the trash. And then in terms of the bamboo forest terminology, I believe in our company, Wanchen Center, all of the furnitures have been made of bamboo instead of the woods. And we have been working with Professor Zhou from Zhejiang Agriculture and Forestry University with his professional expertise. And I have been doing some thinking as well. You have been talking about the carbon sequestration capacity of the bamboo forest. In the future, this kind of capability will be transferred into assets. And in this way, we can improve the benefits to the society. And I believe you can see over 10 cases have been shared with artificial forestry method. And I believe in China, there's no such a program. And you can see the major reasons. And I believe in South China, we have been very lucky to have the bamboo forests. And sometimes we need to look at the renovation method and we need to look at the different development projects relevant to bamboo forests. In the long term, I believe in China, we need to find a way suitable for our society and development. The current forest methodology may not suffice. We need to look at the trees and different species. We cannot simply look at the methodology from the arbors, right? In China, we have our own conditions from the top-notch architecture to international standards connection, and all of which should be incorporated into our methodologies here in China. In this way, we can better develop the carbon sink of bamboo forests here in China. I believe in China, we have the methodology and we have been looking at the international standards, BCS and the carbon credit, and all of these credits have been relevant to the different mechanisms. Sometimes I believe in the future, maybe we'll have over 10 projects listed, and these projects can be distributed across the globe with our message. In this process, let's look at the small-scale projects. The Banfiber project in Scotland, in Colombia, they have the biocarbon registry. In Japan, they have their new bilateral methodology. I believe you need to understand the specific method we can employ in terms of the specific method we can utilize. You need to think about the specific projects. Sometimes you need to look at the methodology employed in the specific projects, right? Such as the Internet of Things, satellite remote sensing, and different scenarios. And I believe for bamboo forest, carbon sink and carbon sequestration is more complicated. It has a longer chain. And in this way, we can look at the bamboo products. And in this way, we can have better results of the carbon sequestration. And Mr. Shi has also mentioned that at the end, we should have the tracing from the bottom, and then all of the data should be moved on to the blockchain. In this way, we can enhance the development of our system. I believe in terms of the bamboo forest development, in terms of methodologies, we can further discuss with each other. And maybe it might not come from VCS. We can also refer to other methodologies to look at the regional projects as the very start, and then we can connect the dots to the larger projects. I believe you should think about the different projects from the bottom to the top assets for each project, for each and every aspect of what we can do, and what is the nature or the significance of each project. I believe the top-notch assets will decide the value of the carbon, and whichever platform you employ will be relevant to the total economic benefits. I believe we can have more consideration behind it. We should also think about what we can do in terms of the bamboo forest development. That is the status quo of our business operation. Thank you to the moderator. Mr. Zhang has mentioned the bamboo forest development in China. I believe in China, we need to look at the significance of this conference from China to the whole world, and in China and the whole world, I believe we need to look at our status, and in terms of the methodologies and the standards, we needed to look at the international standards, international trading. I believe sometimes we need to look at the Chinese standards and the international standards and our nature and our specific conditions. I believe in terms of the blockchain and the big data, I believe in this scenario, we can have more academic conferences or seminars or forum by the associations. I believe business can be invited to share the effects and benefits of the carbon sink on the market. You can see we have the replacement and the market development. In this process, I believe in terms of the carbon sink market, with the real benefits of carbon reduction, emission reduction, and the CCP value, you can be sustainable. In China, I believe we can work with our counterparts, and all of the guest persons here can also work with each other in some projects. And I believe you should also get the message across. China's efforts have been quite significant in the global carbon sink market, and we can also have our final say in this market as well. Thank you, Mr. Zhang and Mr. Lin. Now let's welcome Professor Wang Guangyu from the University of BC to deliver his remarks. Welcome, Professor Wang. Actually, I have been attending another conference with CIBC, and so I want to apologize for the delay. I have been listening to the presentations by several professors. I believe all of them have been quite important, and I see it's quite important in terms of this very important mechanism of carbon sink by the bamboo forest. And in North America, there is no bamboo here, right? It is only for the environment, for the decoration. However, when we have the floor for the compound materials, we need to look at the utilization of different materials in North America. However, if you look at the life cycle analysis, you need to understand the carbon in the bamboo. You should look at the amount of the carbon that have been stored here in bamboo. And in China, in ICBR, I've been looking at their projects on carbon sink.
Sorry, I didn't hear what Mr. Lin said. But there is an issue that hasn't been resolved. That is, methodologies shall be more complete and harmonized so that on international and domestic markets, we can better harmonize standards and regulate corporate behaviors. Bamboo, as with bamboo afforestation and remediation, weed removal, fertilization, a lot of carbon emission is released. If we only calculate the positive parts instead of taking into consideration the carbon source, then the whole process can hardly hold water. So in terms of life cycle modeling, we are also considering similar issues, but such data is very hard to access. The loss of carbon credit is very hard to calculate. And we also don't know the carbon emission from the power we used. Since today's session has pulled many entrepreneurs, I think we can have more opportunities for future operation to have a better knowledge of those issues I mentioned earlier. We have undertaken many forestry programs in a decade. But in the end, the program was ended because they couldn't respond to questions from the public. That's why this government-funded program was suspended. Verification is very important. Okay, that's all from me. I'm so sorry that I entered the discussion too late, so I didn't hear your remarks earlier. Thank you. Professor Wang has given us a very thought-provoking perspective. For over 20 years, we have accumulated some experience, actually. CCER methodology is available now. we also have successful cases, but some results haven't been released yet. In 2015 or 2016, we started cooperation with VCS on methodology of bamboo forest management on afforestation. But we only wrapped up research on conceptuality. We also want to follow up on those methodologies, including the methodology on afforestation. We think international standards should be considered when we try to introduce Chinese achievements, and we also need to notice standards from other countries. Actually, our methodologies have taken into consideration the concerns you raised. We tried to minimize labor, tried to minimize soil disturbance. And we also did research on approaches and the frequency of soil disturbance and the resulting soil GHG emission. With the support of the National Natural Science Fund, we did further research. GHG emission as a result of soil disturbance in South China and North China have gone through a lot of research. The outstanding issue is low productivity. With science-based approaches, we want to raise production. Besides, we also need methodologies on recovery of bamboo forests. Due to high labor cost, transportation cost, the remote areas, the bamboo forests in those areas are out of management. Without additional funding, the bamboo forests could not be remediated. And change from a carbon sink to a carbon source. That's why we have proposed a project to Zhejiang province to research on degraded bamboo forests. A PhD of Professor Wang is studying at our university. I think technology-wise, we can work together. As with the carbon market trading, it is still a very sensitive issue because we need to consider the standards, mechanisms, etc. But we still think research and collaboration is possible. This year, we have also filed an application to a fund to have further research on this topic. It's a very good direction. We shall fully utilize resources endowed by Mother Nature. The resources are not only carbon sink, but also the livelihoods of bamboo farmers. We need to conserve those bamboo forest resources for sustainable development. This is also consistent with the theme of this Congress. Okay, that's a very brave closing remark from me. Thank you, Professor Zhou. Due to time constraints, I would like to declare the end of this parallel session. Thank you. Thank you all the participants and the staff from the organizing committee. Thank you for all the arrangements. Today's parallel session is very successful, so I want to thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.